Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
And this is a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, we're doing a podcast?
Whatever you think we're doing, Zach, we're doing it.
I think we are going to a world where we eat rainbows and poop butterflies.
I think we're going into the Viking era.
Ooh, actually, I've always wanted to go there. Yeah, we're going to actually talk about the Northmen.
The Northmen?
Oh, yeah. This is a big one. To be honest, I think this is actually one of the first kind of Academy films of the year for the next season.
So maybe Oscar bait?
Yeah,
kinda?
Complete Oscar bait for this one. At least it's what the trailers looked like it was trying to do, and whether or not it was good or not, that's looked like what the performances and the directing and cinematography were all as well going for. So
right.
Yeah. Speaking of the director, we have Robert Eggers directing this one, and script by a northern name by Sion, I believe, or there's no R. Sion.
I think that's if you are listening to this, we apologize.
Yeah.
We have no idea how you pronounce your name.
But
I'm sorry.
you also wrote it with Robert Eggers.
Yeah, that's correct. Brief summary: a young Viking prince is on his quest to avenge his father's murder.
Very short and simple. Revenge quest.
Absolutely, it's almost like a Shakespeare quest before Shakespeare.
I think actually I believe this is actually the tale that Hamlet was actually based off of.
I think you're right.
Loosely. And yeah, so
and we love a good Hamlet.
Oh, we always love a good Hamlet. And genuinely, during this movie, I genuinely thought the main character's name was Hamlet for a hot second.
I figured so, and I can say that for my thoughts, but I kept thinking, I'm like, you know what? This feels like a Hamlet.
It does. But
Bravo.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to do our reviews just as we normally do. So we're going to split it up into 3 sections. Our first section is going to be our non-spoiler side. Then we'll go ahead and move into what we thought of the movie. So did we eat it up? Do we think it needed to cook a little more? Or are we feeding it to Jazz? And then after that, we'll go ahead and move into our spoiler section.
And as always, I go first.
Absolutely. Mitch, what did you think of The Northman today?
So I didn't see a trailer for this movie. I didn't even know this movie was a thing until I think we saw Cyrano, or is it the 355?
I think we saw the first trailer on the 355.
And that was the only thing that I remember from that night because of how bad the 355 was. And I watched that trailer. I'm like, that's interesting. And I looked at you, and we both agreed that's probably something that we need to review because I always enjoy Willem Dafoe and Ethan Hawke and and we'll get to the cast later, of course. Yeah. But I just was so intrigued by the look of the film. And to tell you the truth, we haven't had a good Viking-esque Norse mythology movie since Beowulf, that animated Beowulf film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though that one is an abomination against all humanity and I did not enjoy it that much, this movie, after watching it, I have to compare it, even though it's an hour shorter, I feel like this has potential to be our generation and possibly the younger generation, their Ben-Hur. Because
interesting.
Because I literally felt that after watching this movie, even though there are still flaws in this film.
Sure.
But I just felt like when I was watching, I'm like, this, I feel, is a 2022 epic Ben-Hur like film.
Sure.
Even though this one is set way before
the events. Well, no,
way after
the events of Ben-Hur.
I just felt like that's what we were watching. And I really have to applaud this film because the Viking era is very controversial if you really get down to it.
Yes, it is. And because it's so controversial, I feel like it's just never really utilized in our medium. We see it every now and again. Like, we've seen it in TV sometimes.
The Viking show.
Yeah, the Viking show. But we rarely kind of see it. The closest that it's really been in the mainstream to me was with Thor. really.
Yeah.
But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to mention? Or
I really just can't applaud this film any more than I'm about to. The cast was well done. Robert Eggers, I haven't seen The Lighthouse, but I heard it's very, very good. But his directing was solid. We'll get to the cinematography and the music later, but just an all-around really, really good movie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But Zach,
Yeah.
can we go to the performances, or do you have to do your thoughts?
I think I'm gonna go ahead and let give my thoughts a little bit.
But I mean,
I can give it. I can't make it short, but I can give it really quick.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
all right. I'll do it. Fine. Since you're pointing a gun at me, I will go ahead and say it.
Hey, there's no guns in Norse mythology.
You're right. Since you are pointing a really pointy spear or sword at my head right now, or a Slurpee, I will go ahead and say what I'm my first thoughts on the Northman. To say that it's an epic, I feel like hits it right on the nose. It's huge in scale. You can tell a lot of these things were shot practically. You can tell a lot of this was shot on location. It's very beautiful. Something that we genuinely haven't seen in a while because of COVID and everything. So maybe they shot on location because of COVID.
They
did. In order to not be on a soundstage and be able to spread out a little bit more on their stuff. But it was... it didn't look it.
I actually before we did this, I did a quick research, and they did shoot on location.
Oh,
it was in the
you
midst
could tell.
Of, it was in the midst of COVID too, so I applaud the whole cast and crew. For pulling this off.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of pressure doing that.
Oh, 100%, and especially during a time where there's a lot of pressure for a lot of movies to continue, going and sticking to their schedules. Very risky. So I will say congrats to those that put the work in and whatnot. If anyone passed, I am so sorry. I genuinely enjoyed their work. For if anyone did pass because of those decisions made by people higher up than them. But their work did not go unnoticed in this film. Genuinely, from costumes, from makeup, from lighting, from sets, everything. Your work was definitely noticed because they did such a wonderful job with not only capturing everything, but as well acting, directing. Everything was just well done. It wasn't. I feel like The Lighthouse to me was a little bit better than The Northman. But to me, The Lighthouse is a little bit more of a special place in my heart because it's literally two people in a confined space. You have a lot of things to dig through on that.
Right.
This is your very stereotypical revenge tale, but very, very well done. One thing that I definitely also want to. There's two things I do want to really highlight though. Is they kind of like how you say that the Vikings were very controversial. There are aspects of the Viking culture that are very noble, but there are also some very non-noble things that the Vikings did, such as their raiding and pillaging. And they do not shy away from that in this.
Nope.
They do a really good job of painting, of setting up the world of the Vikings and showing just how entrenched in violence that it can be and how violent that life is.
Correct.
And how much just animalistic it can get when it gets into the thick of things.
It got very animalistic.
Oh, that it did. There was one shot which was really animalistic. We'll get into our spoiler section on that one.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a very cool shot. But it's another thing that they also I thought treated very interesting was sex and nudity in this. It is prevalent, but it's really not eye candy. I feel like it's all the sex and nudity happens organically. I feel like,
and a few of the stuff was filmed from a distance too.
Yeah, so it was it was there, but I don't think it was there just to be like, let's shoot a sex scene kind of a thing. Right. So I thought it was actually really well handled in that. But yeah, so those were my first thoughts. Mitch, do you want to move on to our cast performances?
I mean, now that you mentioned it and you've done your thoughts, do we have to? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
we kind of
it.
do. We kind of do.
I'm Zach.
No. We got to.
Oh, yeah. We'll go ahead and move on to our cast performances. So where better than to start with our lead with Alexander Skarsgård playing... Amleth. I keep on saying Hamlet.
Yeah, he actually, when we were typing up our notes, he put Hamlet. So therefore, he's in the doghouse right now. So I have to applaud Alexander Skarsgård. Every time I see him, I've seen him in a few stuff. I saw him in that Legend of Tarzan movie, which I don't know why that movie even got made. That movie was not good at all.
Yeah, he was okay as Tarzan.
Yeah,
he wasn't terrible.
And I think he's in an HBO show. I can't think of what it's called, but he was actually with Nicole Kidman, and he, funny enough, he plays in the TV show with Nicole Kidman. He plays her husband.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and now they're in this movie.
Not her son.
No,
so, very confusing for.
But we can get to that later in our spoiler section.
It gets more confusing when we get to our spoiler section.
Yeah,
so
you're just gonna have to stick around. But he looked the part.
Oh yeah, he buffed out for this.
Well, he was already big.
I mean, yeah, he's already big, but like, dude's buff.
I know.
This. Like it's always funny whenever you pan with everybody else and then you just see him and you're like, oh, he's our main character.
Yeah.
You just see this absolutely god of a human being just standing there and you're like, yeah,
that's him.
Well,
I loved because when he had the long hair, and can we talk about how he had the knife and when he cut his hair?
Yeah, I think
can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. It's not major.
Okay, but I just thought it was funny how.
So minor spoilers. He
gets a haircut.
He does. He starts with long hair and then he goes to short hair.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't want Zach to be.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good.
But can we talk about how well cut it was after he?
It looked okay. So when they actually filmed it, I feel like he genuinely did cut his hair without a mirror, and then they went. Fuck, that actually looks terrible. Wig.
Absolutely.
And then it kind of did look like he was wearing a wig at some point. Sometimes it didn't, but sometimes it definitely did. Because then it got like too perfect.
I know. Well, that's what I was trying to say. And it's like, wait a minute. He cut it with a knife without a mirror.
And it looked like he cut it with a knife with no mirror when he was cutting it.
Absolutely. And
then it got perfect.
Well, I feel like it was almost like they hired a barber like halfway through. I'm like, no, that's not really this. But anyway, yeah, he was very, very good performance.
Yeah, I to be honest, I thought his performance was okay. It was he just played the brute well, but it. I'm sorry. It was just for me, and this is more so of a script thing. I feel like it wasn't more so of an actor thing. It was just like, I'm here. Let's do this. Don't talk now. They're coming. I was like,
and scream.
I was like, there's it's all very simple dialogue. It wasn't very. The character itself was a very simple character. Skarsgård did a good job of trying to nuance him, but when you're playing a brute, there's not much you can really nuance. So he did his best. I felt like he did the rage really well on
absolutely.
the character, but yeah, it was a simple character, well done. But to be honest, in terms of what I'm going to remember from this film is probably not going to be his specific performance.
Well, who's next? Well, looks like it's Nicole Kidman or the AMC Theaters lady.
Yes, Nicole Kidman. We got to see her twice. Once in an AMC trailer when we've already bought our tickets and are sitting in our seats. And then for the actual movie itself.
As Queen Gudrun, I think is how you pronounce it.
I
was going to say, I'm going to let you say that, and I'm just going to let you say it, and then
absolutely.
I'll let it go. So.
Yeah, she did. It's another character. She did fine.
Yeah.
Not bad, not perfect. She did fine. There just wasn't, again, very much done with that character.
There wasn't much there for her to do.
Yeah, and when the twist came with her character, I won't say what the twist is until we're in our spoilers section,
we'll get there later.
But when we get to the twist, I was like,
what?
I barely believe that. I believe it, but barely, because I've barely seen you and know what your motivations are. Okay. But again, I feel like that's more of a script issue more so than than an actress issue. Because Nicole Kidman is a wonderful actress. Don't get me wrong. I always enjoy seeing her on screen. But
I watched her in Being the Ricardos and as Lucille Ball. She was stellar in that.
Yeah, she was stellar in that. But this, just another one. Just another good one. She doesn't play like I'm here for a paycheck, but it also doesn't feel like she was also going for like best actress kind of a thing, you know?
A for effort is what we'll say.
A for effort.
Now who's next? We've got, forgive me if I mispronounce his name,
Claes Bang.
Claes Bang. What a name. I applaud you for having that name. He plays Fjolnir, the brotherless.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think of him?
I didn't really know what to think of him.
Okay.
But I enjoyed him as the movie progressed.
Sure.
I can't really say much because that can be kind of a spoiler.
Sure, yeah, it can be.
So I'm just going to leave it at this. With the type of character that he needed to portray, he portrayed it very well. And I feel like he was, for the most part, a scene stealer. In my opinion.
I agree. I agree with your first sentiment of like at the beginning he was okay, but as the movie went and as you kind of saw what was going on with his character and whatnot, you really started to kind of more feel with him and understand him and kind of get what was going on with his life. So I genuinely enjoyed that aspect of it. And he did become a scene stealer. Again, not at the beginning, but more towards the middle and the end, he started really stealing those scenes. And I think that was also just comes with this man's presence. Yeah. This dude's tall.
Oh, he's huge.
Tall and skinny, but oh my God, can he carry a scene? Like almost like he was almost giving me like Daniel Day-Lewis vibes almost.
I feel like the beard helped a little bit.
It did, but he was definitely one of the bright spots of this movie for sure.
This next one,
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, he played King Arvandil, the War Raven.
Oh, the War Raven. Oh, gosh.
He was superb in this movie.
He was really good.
I never thought I would see somebody from Dead Poets Society play this badass Viking.
He's not in this movie too much, but he does. Because again, in the it's flat out in the synopsis. He's murdered. He's
we
here.
Spoiled it.
He's in the movie for like a chunk.
About 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, but like he does a really good job with his time. And you can really, I feel like it's because of his performance that you really understand why the main character is really fighting for revenge. Because I feel like, yes, he's fighting for his mother and his father, but I feel like he's more fighting for his father's honor in this.
Absolutely.
And that's really what really kind of carries forward in this, and is so well done through Ethan Hawke's performance.
I also got a big Mufasa vibe from him.
A bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It really was, because he just had that lovable king father that Mufasa has, and he portrayed it so well. And I'm just like, I love this. I love this man, Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke, you've done so much these past 3 or 4 months with Moon Knight. You're doing so well, and you do this, and I'm just like, keep doing you.
Keep doing you. You're doing good. I would gladly be a soldier in his kingdom, and I would gladly be a member of his cult in Moon Knight.
Oh, for sure. I also kind of want to be, I mentioned Dead Poet Society.
Yeah.
If his character was still, which I'm sure they are, I feel like I would want to be in his, poet society.
Yeah.
Because his character Todd would just write
Continue
the
on.
best stories.
Oh yeah,
too.
100%.
But next,
Anya Taylor-Joy as Olga. Oh god. Whenever Anya Taylor-Joy shows up, I'm always just a little bit excited because I love her as an actress, so I always am excited to see what she's going to do. And for me, this one was no exception. I thought that she actually did a really, really wonderful job in this movie. Mm-hmm. I wish the story allowed her to do more, because this is one character where we didn't see very much of her, but I would love to have seen more of her, because the main character was still very brooding. No, later, wait, tomorrow, run. I was like, no, let her do stuff, because she obviously is very, very, very capable. So let her do something. And like in the beginning of the movie, they talk about how women in this culture are the closest to the gods, mm-hmm. and how the will of the gods are spoken through women, which is ironic because also the way when Vikings pillage and absolutely go plunder a town, they do not treat women as such. No. It's such a double standard. But I genuinely enjoyed Anya Taylor-Joy's performance in this one, and I just, walking out of this movie, I just wanted more of her character, honestly.
I feel like every time I see Anya Taylor-Joy, because I've seen her in Split, I've seen her in Glass with those two films.
Yep.
I saw her in this really nice period piece, Emma.
Oh, uh-huh.
That was really good. I didn't see her in New Mutants, but I heard that movie was just god awful.
It had some gold parts, but yeah, it wasn't the best.
But I feel like every single movie she's been in throughout the course of her career, she just gets better and better and mm-hmm. better and better.
And she already started out wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. And she's so young, too. Mm-hmm. I don't even think she's 26 yet.
No, I think she's like 24, 25-ish.
So she's only going to get better and better and better as she gets mm-hmm. older.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more seasoned, but she doesn't really need seasoned. I feel like mm-hmm. as she keeps getting roles like these that have a little bit more depth to her, mm-hmm. she's just going to get godly.
Yeah, best actress is definitely in her future.
Oh, I 100%. Agree. No, that's
maybe not with this film, because there's not much of her in this one, so I don't think there's enough that the Academy would suggest her for it.
Maybe supporting actress,
but maybe supporting actress.
Mm-hmm. I'd vote for her.
Oh yeah.
I mean, now that Will Smith's no longer an Academy Award member.
R.I.P., dude. Honestly, that's 10 years. That's rough. That is rough.
Yeah. But we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time.
But Willem Dafoe.
Okay, so here's the thing. Robert Eggers cannot have a film without William Dafoe. So here he is. He plays Heimar, who's the fool in this
clown jester.
Who's also a spiritual leader as well. He's like the spiritual leader for Ethan Hawke's character, the War Raven. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's a Willem Dafoe role. Yeah. I feel like I think when Robert Eggers and Sion were writing this script, they were like, yeah, this is going to be Willem Dafoe's part. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a Willem Dafoe role. That's really all I can say. He does it wonderfully, as only Willem Dafoe can. It's bonkers, but he's wonderful. He does brilliant with it.
So you know how I mentioned how Anya Taylor-Joy is going to get better with age? I also feel that way for Willem Dafoe, because he was great in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, but I just feel like as he's gotten older, his acting he
ages as well as wine.
I know.
Genuinely.
Like when he came back as the Green Goblin. Oh wait, spoiler for No Way Home.
It's fine. It's now out on DVD. So if you really haven't seen it, like
y'all. What are you doing? But with The Lighthouse, and he just keeps getting better and better and better, and every time I see him on screen, my eyes are glued to him. Mm-hmm. And
we'll get to a spoiler section where our eyes were literally glued to him. So,
okay, I'm glad you told me to save that because I wanted to talk about it so bad. But let's save it because
we'll save that one because it's great.
Because we talked about it as soon as we left the theater.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first things that we talked about.
I think it was the first thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh god.
So
that's it for our cast.
Yeah, but you mentioned during your thoughts.
Yeah.
You mentioned the C word.
Cinematography?
No, I was thinking...
Sea shanties?
No. Sea shanties? That starts with an S.
Oh, you're right. The C is silent in sea shanties.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well...
It's like pterodactyl where the V is silent.
You said the C word. You said cast.
Oh, cast. Yes. Like hook, line, and sinker?
The cast for the show.
Oh, well, this is a movie.
Right.
And this is a podcast.
Right.
I don't know where you're going with this.
So we're the cast of the podcast.
Oh, yes, Yep.
So you're Zach, correct?
I'm Mitch.
Really?
No.
Well, then what am I?
I don't know what. I don't know who you are. What am I? I don't know.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. You said the C word. You said cast.
Yes, I said cast.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yes, we're talking about the cinematography.
Oh, there we go. Jesus. You know, I love our banter, but sometimes I genuinely don't know where you're going with things. And I was so confused for a hot second.
You said the C word.
I said cinematography first,
but
you said no.
I know, because I wanted to go back to the cast and you didn't get it.
Oh, okay. What are we going to do with the cast? What are we going back to the cast for?
I don't know. We're going to the cinematography.
Okay, great. We're going to the cinematography. I thought we were going to talk about like Baby Grogu for a second because he made a cameo in this. I don't know.
I mean, if he did,
that would have stole the show. Maybe he's in the lava or something. I don't know.
The lava. But that's a spoiler.
You see a volcano really early in the trailers. It's
you do?
Fine.
I don't. Oh, yeah, sure. Cinematography by Jaron Blasky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
No,
yeah.
honestly, there are so many great shots in this movie. They really take advantage of them being on site for a lot of these things, and I like whenever there is movement from one location to another, mm-hmm. they make sure they capture the vastness mm-hmm. and the beauty of where they're shooting.
Well, not just that.
It's just
the entire landscape too.
Oh, so beautiful. Whoever picked out these locations deserves a pay raise. Well, Jesus,
he did. Jaron Blasky.
Well, no, Jaron Blasky just shot it. They didn't choose it. They didn't choose where they shot. They didn't choose the locations. They just shot the locations. So,
I feel like that may have been a collaborative thing with Robert Eggers and.
Well, no, because you always have whenever you're in a film production, there is one person. The director says, "This is what I'm looking for. This is the landscape," and you have one person who goes to locations and goes, "Yes, this is what the director is looking for." Then the director goes to that spot, says, "Is this what I'm looking for? Is it? Yes. Okay, we're gonna go to that spot." Mm-hmm. There's one person that always goes around. I can't remember what they're called, but it's basically like they're a location finder,
kind of a scout, maybe.
Yeah, like they scout out locations, pretty much. Whoever did it.
I applaud you.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Well done. Cannot wait to to see even more of this landscape because genuinely, movies, we need more of this.
I was going to say, I feel like this is a shoo-in for a nomination for Best Cinematography.
Oh, 100%.
This has got to be a shoo-in.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I don't know if The Northman is going to get a nomination, but cinematography for sure. It should definitely get a nomination for it.
One thing, can we talk about, if you're finished with the cinematography, mm-hmm. Can we talk about this score?
100%.
So, the score is done by Robin Carolyn, if that's Carolan, I think.
Yeah, Carolyn.
And,
I think so.
And Sebastian Gainsborough.
Yep.
So loud, so Viking-esque, mm-hmm. and I loved it.
Yeah. I always forget how much I love that kind of like Viking and Celtic-esque music until like I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, that hits the spot.
There were bits during the movie where me and Zach were like, dun, dun, and we were like going along with the music, and I'm just like, wow, that was
beats infectious, man.
Yeah, the beats were they were bopping too. I'm just like, yeah, this is what we want to hear with Vikings.
We don't sound like we're 50, but genuinely, like the percussion in this was so well used, and because one of the big moments of like Vikings, you always see them banging on their shields and whatnot with their swords and whatnot, and I feel like the people who did the score took that idea and just ran with it, and the percussion in here it beats into your soul.
Oh, absolutely.
And the rest of like the winds and the strings and even some of the chants, because there are chants in here too, just are little ancillaries that add on to the percussion, and it really just well done.
I could see this getting a nice nomination, possibly.
I would like to. I would like it to have a nomination for its music, because it did genuinely a really well done job with it.
Oh, for sure. Well, Zach.
Yeah.
Is it time?
Yeah, I think there's very not much of spoilers left that we have to really talk about. Is there anything off the top of your head that we missed? Or?
No, I honestly want to get this review out because I want to talk about some spoilers.
Oh, I feel that. Yeah.
So, for those of you that this may be our first episode, we give it. There are 3 choices.
Yep.
Beat it to Jazz, who he's probably hungry, ain't he?
Yeah, he's maybe a little bit hungry.
Needs to cook. Or we eat it up.
Yep.
I ate it up.
Nice.
Baby.
Oh, yeah. Ice, baby.
What about you, Zach?
So, walking out of the theater, me and Mitch were talking. And we were talking about how there was a lot of things kind of going on with this, and we were talking about where we might rate it just out of the theater. And we both agreed that we ate it up 100%. I would like to retract that statement.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We have a certain designation for movies that we think are really wonderful, that stand out among the crowd, and whether that's positive or negative. The positive one we consider a clean plate. The negative one is we throw down the garbage disposal.
Are you doing what you think you're doing?
I did not think it was either of them, and I'm gonna retract my retraction, and I agree. I ate it up. The look on Mitch's face on this one, you have to see it.
And you can also see the 2 middle fingers.
Yeah,
Up your ass, man. I got excited there for a second because there was one time I almost wanted to make a movie, the clean plate one.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Well, and here's the thing. I said you could make it a clean plate. I said that you could if you wanted to. And I would have nothing against that. He was going to do it for Cyrano, which is my number 2, by the way. But
you wanted to save it for something humongous.
But it's our own personal opinion on for clean plates on if we want to give it a clean plate or not. We don't have to be unanimous on it. No. We definitely don't. But
right now we've only had 2, and that was My Godfather and
Casablanca.
Correct.
Which we brought in as some of our own clean plates.
Yes.
Yeah, no, this movie is genuinely huge, epic, and spectacular. There are a few things that I could say are wrong with this that would deter it from being a clean plate. But like genuinely, it's gorgeous, it's epic, and it doesn't shy away from it. This is genuinely an art film, and some people aren't gonna like it. Some people will. It's to each their own. But I genuinely ate this movie up.
Well, you had me so excited. We do have. I feel a clean plate coming. In the next
feel
couple
like
weeks.
it will. I will. I feel like it's going to be blockbuster season, so it's going to be hard for a clean plate to come out of that. But
There is Doctor Strange coming up.
That's true, but even so, there's so much that is coming. Usually for me, I feel like my clean plates, if any, do show up. Usually show up in the fall season or the winter season.
I feel like you get really good clean plates for November, December sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But there are years where there are no clean plates and it's just eat it up.
There wasn't really that many clean plates in 2020.
Not many in 2020. 2021 actually had a few, in my opinion. But
Tick, Tick, Boom.
Tick, Tick, Boom. And West Side Story.
No Way Home?
No Way Home wasn't Eat It Up.
Okay. No Way Home wasn't Eat It Up.
No Way Home wasn't Eat It Up. Really good Eat It Up. Like very high quality Eat It Up. But
not the, what was that Netflix movie? They got nominated for Best Picture that shouldn't. Was it Don't Look Up?
Don't Look Up, yeah. A lot of people really love that movie. I thought it was okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
I thought it was okay.
All right. We have our review.
That's our review.
Now it's time for...
Do you want to do it?
No, that's all you, man.
Okay, absolutely. Wah, wah. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. We're getting into it.
Yes, it's time for spoilers. And this first one here is quite the game.
Oh, yeah. So, one thing that there's actually two things that we didn't put on our list that I do want to also talk about that I realized. Mm-hmm. The first thing being, the first time that we're introduced to, like, the gods.
Yeah.
Here, which is probably William Dafoe's biggest scene in this movie.
Even though, because you're talking about
basically the wolf pack scene, I'm gonna call it. Well, not like the wolf. There's two wolf pack scenes, but
you're talking about the king and his son,
and the spiritual leaders.
That I love that scene.
It was such a good scene,
especially when you. When Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe looks at him, what kind of person, because he asked him, what kind of creature are you? And he burped in his face. And he goes to the kid and he farts.
It was a really wonderful scene, and I felt like a really interesting introduction into Norse mythology. Mm-hmm. But we get a lot of mythology in this movie, and it was just so really well done in the start of it, and how it's not. I just like how raw it is of a look at that religion, honestly, because it's like you're talking about a religion where sacrifice was abound. The gods genuinely looked on humanity as beasts. It's a very different religion from what the religion that I grew up in.
Same.
Which was Roman Catholicism.
Same.
But there's a beauty to it, and they really, I feel like, kind of captured the beastliness and the beauty of it and the rawness of it. Mm-hmm. And it's all due to each of the actors who were in it, which was William Dafoe, Ethan Hawke, and then whoever played the younger version of Hamlet. Who they just did such a wonderful job with directing it and choreographing it. Do you have any thoughts on that specific scene before moving on?
Not the quick. I really enjoyed the quick transition to the death scene,
which was going to be my second thing.
That was one of the best transitions to something from going from a Norse mythological
to a betrayal
death, and there
not a portrayal, a betrayal.
Did I say portrayal?
Yeah, I said betrayal. You said portrayal of death, and I was going with betrayal, as in who betrays who.
Right. My apologies.
No, you're good. Don't worry.
But I knew that something was coming after that, because you could just feel something, like something bad's gonna happen, and I think. Because something shoo went past the screen, and I hear you go, "Oh!"
It was quick.
I know,
and that was I also knew that something was coming, but I just wasn't expecting it to happen that quickly.
You're "Oh!"
It was Ethan Hawke's character gets shot with like he gets his like own Barmir like shooting. Like he gets shot with like 3 different arrows.
And then a few spears
and
get
then
him.
like he gets stabbed like by 5 spears. And I'm like,
he's still fighting them too.
Jesus.
And he's like, you mongrels and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, Ethan Hawke, it's too bad.
No, it's not your time.
Yeah.
It is your time, but it's not your time.
But then you find out who betrayed him.
Which is Fjolnir.
Which you
saw it coming.
Yeah, I just have to say this right now. If I applaud the effort that they did in trying to hide the betrayal until that time, but as soon as you see Fjolnir,
like his very first shot when he's riding on his horse into like the kingdom, is very like, oh yeah, you're the villain. Well, it's not even. It wasn't even like you ain't even hiding it. Like he's so grimace and whatnot.
And not just that. I feel like I probably should save this, but we are in the spoiler section.
Yeah, we're in the spoiler section.
The way that the Queen Gudrun looked at him.
Yeah.
And the way that she offered her cup to him.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Well, and also like the other thing too, when that scene happened, after she offers the cup, William Dafoe makes a big thing of it because he's the fool, the jester.
Oh man,
he's like, the queen is offering her cup to the brother, and then the brother erupts.
I mean, because he made kind of a dick joke too.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the dick joke.
Yeah,
he made a dick joke.
Something about like the big iron.
Yeah, and the brother erupts like, you do not do that. And they're like, oh, so you two are having a fling behind the king's back.
Well, and the king was like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a jest.
Yeah, which I was like, so it's one of those things where like you can kind of see, you saw where the story was going once that moment hit.
Real big foreshadowing. And then you saw the baby of his
eldest son.
Well, and I also kind of saw, I'm like, okay, now I kind of understand why he probably would betray the king, because he wants the throne to give it to his son and whatever, and so on and so forth. And then they started talking, the queen and Ethan Hawke's character, the king, they were talking about how it was time for Amlet to know what's going to happen if he dies. And the queen was like, well, think about what about his great grandfather? The only reason why he took the throne was because he killed his uncle or something like that. And I'm like, oh wow, so we know what's on your mind, Missy.
But, so there was a lot there, and then his death does happen. 2 strikes to decapitate, which I thought was interesting.
I mean, he's got a thick neck for that.
I did. And also, so you don't necessarily see the separation from head from body. No. But you do see the head get kicked, which I was like, there goes some soccer. But you did. Like, you see a little bit of it, but you really, that beheading was actually really tame compared to what we see later. Which I thought was very also interesting. But then we get to the first like real big Viking gore fest.
Oh yeah.
We see the aftermath of one when Amleth is running away, but we see the first like big one after that when he's grown up, and we see like what he's been doing.
He joins a clan.
And oh my god, what's this clan?
When that clan showed up at that first, I can't think of I don't want to say village, but I'm just gonna say village because I can't, for lack of a better word. When they like swarmed it, and because they first tried to go like really quietly, and someone catches them.
But let's talk about that shot too.
I know,
like, okay, so they really the cinematography actually was really, really good with this shot, because what they're wearing wolf skin, because I think it's partially religious and cultural, but also I think they were trying to kind of blend in with the environment. So like they're wearing these wolf skins, and they creep up from the bottom, and it genuinely looks like wolves, like about to pounce on prey. And it was really cool. But then, you can go ahead and continue. They were caught.
And spears were thrown, and actually a spear was thrown, and Amlet caught it. And I think
and sends it back, return to sender.
Well, during that, you said you did something again. He caught it, and you're like, oh, wow.
There we go.
Yeah, that's exactly how you said it, and he threw it back. I'm like, man, this movie's going to get good. And then they finally, like, got over the wall, and the shot lingers on Amlet for a good solid, 5-ish minutes?
Yeah.
It's one singular shot for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. I think it was split up into 2 shots. However...
Which is still pretty good.
Which is still really good, but there's... Or actually, take it back. I think it was split up into 3.
It was,
the
yes.
wall scaling up, and then...
He jumps.
When he jumps over, I think it cuts to a different shot, but it's still supposed to look like one shot. Mm-hmm. Because you get a like in between wall shot, so I think there was probably a cut right there.
Yep.
Then you get him and everyone entering the pillaging and the village, and you start seeing going. And the really cool thing about this shot is that it's technically following Amleth the entire time.
Right.
Things get in the way, like walls, huts, things, or whatnot, but it still follows him,
right,
regardless. If he's moving forward, the camera's moving forward,
right.
Which I thought was so interesting. And you just genuinely see Vikings just wrecking house, literally and figuratively, in this.
Well, and then you kind of see how cruel they are after they're done pillaging.
Yeah.
They literally take all the villagers, babies, kids. I think they keep.
They keep some. So they're slavers.
Yeah.
That's also part of the Viking era. Mm-hmm. Is that you have slaves. Whoever you pillage and capture, you take slaves, and
whoever is the strongest.
You either send them to other Vikings as like tributes, or you send them to your own. You do what you do.
Or in this case, they were taken to Fjolnir.
Yep. Which is how. Our main protagonist finds out where their revenge lies, which is really cool.
And one quick thing, and then we'll go to the next bit. You kind of see how cruel these Vikings are, because the ones that they didn't keep, like the women, older men, and the children, babies, they were all thrown into this one shack, and they were lit on fire.
Just burned to the ground.
And you didn't need to be in that little cabin or shack or whatever. You just felt everyone that was dying in there, and that's when I knew, like, this is not a tame movie.
No,
this was a movie that we haven't seen ever when it comes to the Vikings. Because if you talk about Norse mythology and the Vikings, we've had Beowulf, we've had Thor and a few other things, but Beowulf never even touched the Vikings.
Not really, yeah. It was more mythology.
And
based.
if they did, they just were like, oh, they're just there. This was the first bit that I've seen, other than that Viking show, where you finally saw like how cruel the
Vikings really can.
They
be.
really were, yes. And then you go to the halfway through the movie, you get, what was it? Was it like a soccer/baseball game?
Oh yeah. So we took a break from our pillaging and rioting for a sports game.
I don't know what you'd call it, but it was a game.
I forgot what it's called, but like, so he's been captured. He's not captured. He willingly puts himself into slavery to get there.
Yeah. Because that's where they're going. They're going to Fjolnir's, and so they can be his slaves, and so he can take out his revenge. And I will kill you. Well, how was it? It was
I will avenge you, father.
I will save you, mother. And I will kill you, Fjolnir.
And it repeats that on repeat. You hear that multiple times in the movie.
I feel like that could be a good wake up alarm, Zach.
But it's gonna be so. It really was it
was a beautiful scene,
very beautiful scene. Well, not the burning and whatnot.
Not the burning, no.
But like, but the sports scene was really, really cool. But there was one part that genuinely, me and Mitch actually were like, "Holy shit! Did they go there?"
They almost did.
They almost did, and they play it like they did. So this, it's like extreme lacrosse is the best way I can basically say it.
No, that's you hit it to a T.
It's extreme lacrosse. Basically, you have a team of 4 versus 4. You have these sticks and you have this ball. You basically want it. There's 2 posts at the end that you're trying to guard, and the goal is to hit your rival team's post with the ball. That's the goal. And you can be as violent as you want to get that ball.
And I feel that every time you score, the opponent, like let's say me and Zach are playing, and I score on Zach's team.
Yep.
Zach has to lose one member of his team.
I don't think that's how it happens. I think you play until there's no one left.
Really?
I think so. Because
I don't know why I thought that. I think that's just the way they had it set up.
maybe that's how it's set up. The way how I read it was because every single time they played, people kept on getting like seriously injured, so they were always like pulling people off the field.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like they walked off. No, they were being pulled off.
Well, and there's this
so
one
I feel
big
like
guy,
so I feel like that's how it goes. Is you keep on going till like there's no more.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of goes. But
There's this one big guy.
there's this one big guy that's like the like mini antagonist of this thing.
Yeah.
And he's wrecking house. Like he's absolutely kicking Amleth's team's ass. It's not. It's a bloodbath.
Mm-hmm. There's literally a lot of blood.
There's a lot of blood, and so it's just down to Amleth and this Hulk of a man.
Yeah, he's quite large.
He's huge. It's Bjorn. It's actually. I feel like it's like it almost looked like Hodor for a second. I was like, oh no, it's not Hodor, but like he's like that big. And so it's down to them, and they're fighting and whatnot, and they're trying to get the ball, and Amleth is able to block it. Mm-hmm. And they start going and diving and kind of fighting it out. And the little kid, who is now the youngest son of Fjolnir and Gudrun, because they ended up getting together, which again we saw that coming at the beginning.
Saw it coming.
He ends up storming onto the field because he just gets so angry. You know, like when you're like watching your favorite sports team and you're like, "Come on, you can do better than that."
Well, and that kid's very competitive,
and
too.
he is, yeah. So the little kid runs onto the field, grabs the ball, and starts running to score. And the big guy sees it, and the big guy just whack, like he like just like almost like not like tackles but like shoulder hits this kid, and all of a sudden you hear a crack.
Well, because his head hit the ball, I'm pretty sure. And the next shot you see is just of this kid lying down, head next to the ball, and he is pale white. Well, and his
eyes are open,
and he's bleeding bad.
So you're like,
this kid's dead. Yeah,
this kid's dead. So Amleth is just Amlet just tackles this dude and then pummels him literally to the death, and is just headbutting him. And you don't see the aftermath, but you hear cracks. I'm pretty sure that man's head is no longer intact.
Yeah, you're not seeing you're seeing probably brains.
You're probably seeing brains on that guy.
And then you turn, and and Amlet's breathing heavily, and he sees like, shit, this kid's dead. And their family's like telling him like, wake up.
Wake up.
And I'm like, this kid's dead.
Yeah. I was like, this is grieving. And I'm like, holy shit, the kid's dead.
And then all of a sudden he like,
did we win? I'm like, you're fucking kidding me.
God.
No.
Well, and the way that they kept like shaking him, and his eyes were still
wide open.
I know. And then he's like, and then he blinks.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a like that was an early glimpse of first millennium concussions, because that kid has a concussion.
Oh yeah.
And then he was like, "Did we win?" I'm like,
"The fuck yeah!"
What is it? I mean, a typical football player.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah,
genuinely, that I was like, kudos to the kid, because that's quality acting from a kid right there. Children actors are whenever you have a great child actor, it's amazing. But that was a genuinely wonderful performance by that kid. But yeah, that was some dark stuff that we got into there.
We almost got there, but one thing, I don't know if this was dark. I don't know if it was weird.
Yeah, it was. This was weird.
Why don't you start?
Okay, so fast forward to the film.
We're at the third act.
We've mentioned, so basically Amleth is going about his revenge by going, okay, I'm not going to just kill him right away. I'm going to play with him.
Right.
Because he doesn't know who I am. I can have fun with my revenge. And that's where, like, we meet Olga by this point, who's a witch, and is very cool. She's like, let me help you. Let me help you. And he's like, no, I got this. No, I got this. But we're going to play with him a bit. So he basically creates this specter, which is really, really cool. And he's like basically like mutilating these people in really creepy ways, and it's getting into Fjolnir's head. Mm-hmm. And so basically all of Fjolnir's slaves are tasked to defend the homestead from this spirit that's attacking them. And Olga has come up with this like mushroom to get them all high and basically attack their senses. So everyone's freaking out and has eaten this really terrible soup, and he's decided, I'm going to save my mother really quick and let her know that I'm all right and I'm okay. So he goes in, sees his mother, tells his mother, like, hey, I'm your son, like your real son, your firstborn son.
And then
she goes like, cool, I thought you were dead. I was kind of hoping you were dead.
Because I'm the one that called the hit on you.
Because I wanted your father dead, and I wanted every trace of him dead, so I wanted you dead too. Because I was a slave, and I didn't want this life. But then your uncle treated me really well. So me and your uncle planned this entire thing. So, bye. But since you are still alive, and you are technically in line for king, if you want, we could maybe be husband and wife. And then she kisses him, and we're like, no, thank you. Bye, no.
It reminded me of, and this is really old theater, I think I mentioned this last night, Oedipus.
Ugh.
Where Oedipus Rex is a character from really, really ancient Greek mythology. Sophocles wrote it back in pre, almost near dinosaur ages.
Yeah, before COVID.
Wait, the panini. This was pre-Christ time.
Yeah.
And the way it worked was Oedipus's parents had Oedipus.
Yeah.
And they went to the oracle because Oedipus was the son of a king, and they went to the oracle so they could predict his future.
Yep.
And the way the oracle predicted him was he was going to kill his father and marry his mother and have children.
Incest is wincest.
Yeah, and so the way that it happened was his parents sent him away to an orphanage, I think. They don't, that way...
No, they don't send him in... I don't believe they send him in an orphanage. I believe... Oh, no.
It wasn't an orphanage. It was another king. It was another place, I think.
Okay, I might be getting my Greek mythology mixed up a little bit, but I believe this is either... Oh, no, never mind. I am getting my Greek mythology mixed up. You go ahead. Yes.
So they send him away. They don't know him.
Yes, correct.
He gets older. And people start to know Oedipus as a person. They said, "Oh, there's this place where they're looking for, I don't know exactly why he had to go there, but he has to go back home. He still doesn't know his parents.
Yeah.
And on the way, he meets this beggar.
Yeah.
And he kills him because tries to steal something or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he goes to this kingdom, and there's no king, but the wife is there. And Oedipus is like, I can be king. And he marries the queen.
Little did we know
that was his mother.
And the beggar
was his father.
His father.
And they ended up having twin girls.
Yeah.
And that literally brought me back to that story.
Yeah.
Except he didn't kill Amlet didn't kill his father.
Yeah.
But when she kissed him, I'm just like, what the hell?
But it was a way. It was used as a way to distract him because she was then going to try and stab him.
Yeah.
But it was still. In the moment. I was like, "What? Are we really going here?"
Yeah.
Like I know we just went under child murder. We almost hit it and just went underneath it. But are we really going to go there? And then no, we did not.
Murder.
We did not. We did not. So thank God we did not. But we did get to child murder later.
We did, didn't we?
We did.
I know. But that was. I feel like that was child manslaughter. I feel.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now the
speaking of slaughter.
Oh. Yeah.
We forgot to talk about the sword and his little mini quest for his sword.
Oh my!
Oh, and we also forgot to put how we find out where the sword is.
You talk about the way we got this, or do you want me to talk about the sword?
We can both talk about it. It's both our podcasts.
Well, I
mean, we'll start at the beginning of that subplot where.
Willem Dafoe's head.
Oh yeah, we get Willem Dafoe comes back because he got killed in the initial, and we find out that he got killed because I keep on saying it wrong. Amleth goes to an oracle, and the oracle
is Ray Stevenson.
Which is kind of cool, but
it was really cool.
But he's like, I thought William Dafoe was gonna be here, and he's like, oh no, he is. Slap! There's his head. I was like,
with no eyes,
no tongue. But he was like, don't worry, I got some eyes back and a tongue. But if you're an asshole to my master, he does need a new set of ears. Which I was like, you know what? I like you. But no. We just want the sword, please.
I love it how, as the scene progressed, Ray Stevenson was doing like his old oracle thing, and then there's Willem Dafoe in his random head. And
he gets a nice voiceover.
I know. Here. Well, and it's funny how you have Ray Stevenson overacting, and then there's Willem Dafoe's head, and he literally just steals the spotlight, literally, just for being a dead head.
Yeah.
And it was
great.
And he tells them to find this sword. I don't remember exactly how he said to find it.
He said go to this, I think it was a cave or something.
Yeah, it was a cave.
But only on a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Do not go at any other time.
Yeah.
So,
rightfully so.
For a slave, you're like, oh, thank God. And because there's no other free time that I have other than when I'm supposed to be sleeping. So,
it just so happened to be a full moon that night.
And it just so happened to be a full moon that night. So he goes to this place, and it looks like it's aboard like this hole or cave. It has like a ship in it or something. Mm-hmm. And there's this like slowly decaying body holding a sword.
A really nice sword.
And it's basically this is like a blood feud sword. Like this, like they like basically say that this sword can only be quenched through the blood of revenge, and like it thirsts for it. I'm like, hell yeah.
It's totally Amlet's
badass.
It's totally Amlet's sword.
So he goes for it. There's a battle between this like decomposing thing, and like I was like, just shove it into the moonlight. Like I was like, this is obvious. Like,
well, he figured it out,
and he figures it out. And he decapitates it.
And then shoves it up his ass.
Which is really funny. And then it pans over, and that fight was all metaphorical. And he just takes the sword. And I was like, cool. That's actually kind of cool.
I actually really enjoyed that. But the way he shoved his head up his ass. I mean, that is literally Norse mythology of saying, get your head out of your ass.
It was great. It was a like genuinely like it was a really good belly laugh from like everyone in the theater for that one.
And the theater wasn't that crowded, but everybody laughed during that. It was great.
It was really good. And they actually played this bit really, really well because this sword genuinely cannot be unsheathed unless it's at night.
Yeah.
Like once dawn hits, it's not coming out. And the Amleth does try to unsheath it at the later to like exact his revenge right away after he has his sword, and then he's like, oh shit, it's not going to come out. And then eventually later, after the queen twist, he's captured. Amleth is captured, and the oldest brother
He kills.
he does kill, but while Amleth is hanging, the oldest brother wants to kill Amleth with his own sword and tries to unsheath it.
Yeah.
But he can't, and he's struggling. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's like, it was a good little bit of comedy to break up a really serious and dark scene.
Right.
But, really well done. It's so funny when a sword like itself can kind of be kind of a character, and it was.
Oh, absolutely. But now, if there's anything else that you want to talk about before we get to these last two bits.
Yeah, let's move on to the last two bits, honestly. Unless
Zach,
you have something.
Well, Zach looks like he's about to fall asleep, so he's great.
It's only 7:30. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about Elga and Amleth.
Yeah. To be honest, like the romance was actually really believable.
I really enjoyed the romance. Yeah.
I completely bought them falling in love and whatnot. Again, it was just really, really weird. Like, no, I'm man, you woman. Like it really was a bit of that, and I was like, nah. But it was like it's of that time. So
they went a little too Tarzan and Jane.
A little bit,
yeah.
But they have sex like twice in this, and they pulled this movie was rated R.
Yeah.
And there's one scene of graphic nudity that I would say was kind of graphic because Fjolnir tries to have sex with Olga, but Olga disfigures herself, and like basically wipes her blood on him, to like get him away, and it works. But like that was the only like bit of like graphic nudity that we really ever saw,
right?
Because then whenever they really have between Amleth and Olga, whenever they have sex, it's usually from a distance, and whenever you kind of are close up, when the actor and actress are nude, they play I'm gonna casually drape my arm across you so we don't get full nudity, kind of a thing. So it's modest nudity, but they do it really well. They have it really, really well, and they have like sex like about like 2 or 3 times, but we later find out she's pregnant.
With twins. Which is phenomenal.
Which is great. And
because they originally were going to go run away together.
They were. And they keep on saying that there's a prophecy, and they hit it every now and again.
Yeah.
And this is one of the prophecy moments, is that he can either be kind to his kin. He'll have to make a choice and be kind to his kin, or follow his rage. And he's like, you know what? I could do this, and I could be happy. But if I leave this man alive after taking everything from him,
they're going to find the kid.
They're going to try and kill you. So I need to go.
I choose both.
Which I was like,
you can't
really choose both in this situation. You either go with your family or you die.
Yeah.
But fine. Cool. Yeah. You choose death.
I feel like he felt like he could have won that fight and survived.
No.
But I think deep down he's like, no, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. But yeah, they have twins, and it was a really nice moment to find out.
Yeah, and also I thought it was interesting too. Again, the kind of like the almost hypocrisy of Vikings, whatnot. When we get this like picture of a family tree multiple times, and we see the twins, the girl is the one that supposedly is supposed to go down in line and get the royalty aspect of it, because we see her with a crown, with a scepter, in like queenly robes. So evidently she gets royalty. The boy doesn't look too royal, but the girl does, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that was really cool. But this kind of leads to something else. Final fight
leads to our final thing, which is the final fight.
This
was epic.
It was intense too.
Genuinely. So I'm not brash about it. Star Wars is my favorite franchise. They did a volcano fight scene better in this movie than the entire volcano aspect fight scene of Revenge of the Sith.
But the way I feel like it was so well done was you didn't really see the look on either of their faces.
Yeah, you're right.
It felt like I was watching, even though we knew it was two people, it felt like I was watching two rageful shadows.
Yeah.
To me, at least. Yeah.
Well, and so they describe that... So it's a volcano, and they describe it as the gates of hell, which is a very apt description. It literally looks like two people chained to their fate that were bound to this fight. And it didn't look choreographed, which perfect. If fight choreography doesn't look choreographed, then perfect. That's the best kind of fight choreography. However, it did fall into the trope that I really hate of fight choreography, which is man seriously injures other opponent. Like, seriously. Like, he slices this man's arm very well. Like, I swear, like, that slice you probably could have seen bone on.
Yeah.
That arm is not being used. And then adrenaline kicks in, and, like, the left arm is, like, working like it's always worked forever. And I'm like, y'all...
Get it with it.
That arm is useless.
It really was.
No. So that did kind of take me out of the moment a little bit of it, because I was like... Come on, y'all. Like, no, that arm is useless. You can't use that arm.
No.
Absolutely not.
But other than that, I really enjoyed the final fight. It really felt like, okay, this is two Norse men going at it.
Oh, yeah.
And 100%. It was great. And I felt like the stakes were so high. The fighting, even though back in Norse mythology, Viking era, there was no combat style. It was just
whack. It was whacking each other.
And I loved every second of it. And that last moment where they were both screaming at each other, and you knew that something was going to go down. You just didn't know who was going to come out on top.
Yep.
And then the beheading, and then the stabbing, and
well, and to be honest, the stabbing and the beheading happened at the same time, but I noticed the beheading way before I realized that he was also stabbed.
I did too.
I would have to watch it a second time to see if it was as obvious, because obviously you're not going to miss a beheading.
Of course not.
Like, that's obviously what your eyes are going to go to first. But he is stabbed at the same time that he beheads Fjolnir. And it's definitely the most graphic beheading that we've had in a while in cinema. It's flat out one take, just wallop, there goes the head.
And it goes into the volcano.
And it goes into the lava. You don't see it specifically like sink into the lava, but you see it roll, and you hear the and it's like, yeah, okay, we got it.
That was a very, very accurate sound effect. Yeah. Good job, Zach.
Thank you.
But yeah,
that it was. The death scene happens, and he gets carried off by the Valkyrie into Valhalla, and is great. And also, a very beautiful ending shot of him just being carried by the Valkyrie.
Oh, for sure.
It was an art film. Some people will like it, some people won't.
We both loved it. There
are slower scenes in some of it. I enjoyed the slower scenes. I felt that the slower scenes happened when they needed to. However, I know some people would probably say that the film probably would stop at that point and would drag at some of those points. I didn't feel that, but I understand if someone would think that at some of those scenes.
I didn't feel it either. And I normally can notice when a film has started to slow down a bit. And it didn't really slow down for me at all, really.
It really didn't, but at the same time, I feel like that's what's keeping it from a clean plate is that, like...
So fast-paced.
Like, I could delineate the fast from the slow. For me personally, a clean plate would be... I'm at the edge of my seat the entire time. I'm eating everything up, every minute, every second, every performance. Like, everything's just going, and it just doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. There were moments where I could take a break.
Right.
And that's what kind of stops it from being a clean plate for me and has it just be an eat it up. Does this deserve an Oscar nom? Maybe.
It's close.
It's close. If it's on the Oscar nominations list, I'm not surprised.
I feel
but
like
I also with the amount of movies that are coming later,
right,
I'm also not surprised if it doesn't make the list.
I feel like the Academy is going to take a hard look at it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be noticed. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like that we went to go see this, because it could genuinely be a contender. But
I think we were also really interested in the movie.
Oh, 100%. Like, I'm not saying like that's the only reason, but it was definitely for me one of the draws was that this was Oscar bait, mm-hmm. and I was like, let's see if it's up to the task, and it was. Mm-hmm. Will it win Best Picture? No, I don't think it will.
Probably not.
But it will be up there in probably one of the better films of the year, if I had to say. It will. I believe it will probably be on my top 10 list by the end of the year. Wow, probably number 9 or number 10.
Yeah, mine. It's gonna be on mine for sure, probably. But it's only April.
Which also, speaking of my top 10, my number 1's gone from this year. So what the hell? What's wrong with this life anymore?
Well, my number 5's gone too.
That's your number 5. This is my number 1 that was taken away from me. God damn it.
Well, that's why I put it on my my honorable mention, because I felt like it was gonna get delayed, and I just didn't say it in our top 10 review, but. So you've heard our thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts.
We do. We want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of The Northman? Did you enjoy it? Do you think it's going to win Best Picture? Let us know.
Do you think you should feed it to your dog or cat?
Yeah, no, let us know genuinely. Our email is attached at the bottom, so please let us know what you think, or send us some suggestions of some movies that you think we should review.
Yeah, well, there is 2 coming up. I know one you wanted to talk about.
One I do know is coming. I do promise it's coming, and it's coming in the near future. It's the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Nicolas Cage's big movie that came out at the same time as Northman. We had a lot going on this weekend, so we were only able to see one, and Northman was the big thing that we both really wanted to see. Massive Talent is also one that I really also want to see, but it just is something that we're going to have to push off just a little bit, but I do promise that review is coming out in the very near future.
And something else is coming in 2 weeks. What is that?
I don't know. I feel like it's in a different universe for me right now.
Is it? It's not another Marvel film, is it?
It is another Marvel film.
Does it include Sam Raimi?
Oh no, Spider-Man came out years ago, dude.
I know, but he's directing something else. It's something with.
Is it an indie film?
I don't.
He's a really big indie director.
I also know the guy who's in it is Cumberbatch.
No.
Not Cumberbatch.
No, it's Eggs Benedict's Cabbage Patch, I think.
That I think is correct.
Okay, got it.
But I also think that's another universe's name for
you're right.
Cumberbatch.
You're right. Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch. You're right. That's it. That's.
We're talking about Doctor Strange
and the Multiverse of Madness. We're all excited for it.
Yeah, we've got our tickets.
We're really excited to see it. That review is going to come out literally. I will guarantee you is going to come out literally that night after we see it.
Unless something happens.
Unless something happens. But
we're not going to tell
we don't know the future, but if that review we promise is going to come out that Thursday or that Friday. So look for it. We promise it's going to be out.
We may not sleep.
But by Garnet, that review is coming out really, really soon.
And that will be a first for us, too.
That will be a first for us. But we are very excited. But until that time, I'm Zach.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Well, then, I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.